All right, welcome back to our Board of County Commissioners meeting. We're on now, public hearing number 9, legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23-10, Martin Commerce Park LLC, a future land use map amendment. Ms. Lovelady, take it away.
Good afternoon, Samantha Lovelady, Growth Management. This is an application to transmit Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23-10, Martin Commerce Park LLC. I want to make note for the record that this was advertised in the newspaper on September 6, 2024. Okay, this is a request by Martin Commerce Park LLC. It's a proposed future land use
Can you
map.
open it all the way up, please?
Sure.
I know sometimes when you're watching at home, it's hard to see it. Thank you.
Kind of threw it off. There we go. So it's a proposed future land use map amendment to change 167 acres from agricultural and agricultural ranchette to industrial. The project is located on Martin Highway and I-95. This is the existing future land use map showing the agricultural and ag-ranchette future land use designations. And this is the proposed future land use with the industrial land use shown. This is related to the CPA 2309 to create an exception for water and sewer services and to create a freestanding urban service district. In Section 2.1 of the staff report, 2 of the 4 criteria for future land use map amendments have been met. In Section 2.2, urban sprawl, 8 out of the 13 criteria have been met. In Section 2.2.1, proliferation of sprawl, 4 out of 8 criteria have been met. And with that, I will take questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, applicant?
Again, for the record, Morris Crady, senior partner with Lucido and Associates, here on behalf of the applicant. And I'm in agreement with staff recommendation. Don't really have to go through a presentation, but I do want to mention something about urban sprawl because I know some of the applicants have brought that up. But back in the 80s, the classic case of urban sprawl was Stewart West. At 1 unit per 2 acres, it's the classic example of urban sprawl, which usually includes a residential component. I went and on April, I submitted a very detailed response to the urban sprawl criteria from the March staff report. And provided a lot more data and analysis. And what this project does is it minimizes the urban sprawl created by Stewart West because it provides services and potential employment. That together with 7Js, that together with Pineland Prairie that brings urban services closer to Stewart West is how you combat urban sprawl. And that's what we're doing with this step. We're making urban sprawl less intense by providing services and employment near Stewart West and Palm City Farms for that. There's a lot of other residences out there besides Stewart West. And so it creates a better plan for that area because we're working from something that existed prior to the comprehensive plan when you're dealing with Stewart West. So in 95 wasn't there. It made sense to have this land agricultural, but a lot has changed since 1982 when this land was classified for agricultural use. And the extension of 95 and the extension of water and sewer services are the primary components that make sense now to create what we're doing today. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions on urban sprawl or, okay? Okay, thank you. Okay.
No questions for the applicant? We have one speaker form, Donna Calabrese.
Once again, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Donna Calabrese. 8 out of 13 criteria for urban sprawl 4 out of 8. I don't know what the magic number is, but it doesn't feel to me that we have met enough criteria. And I would also like to make a statement that I don't believe that anybody in Stewart West moved out to Stewart West looking for a job across the street. We moved out there to be in that tract of land, in that urban, rural setting. Continue on where I came from earlier. I respectfully request that this agenda item be moved to a time when the new board has been seated. I'm going to go back to my earlier comments. We are not blind to the fact that growth is here, growth is coming. We would like it to be thoughtful, and we would like infrastructure in place. Martin Highway cannot handle the traffic now, we know that, and if we're attracting local businesses to the Commerce Park, they're going to go back into town. They're not going to all go on I-95. So I request that the board work with the communities to put pressure on the state to get some work done on that road, okay? We need to widen that road. It's coming. I know development's coming, but if we just sit back and wait for FDOT to do it, it's not going to happen. So I implore you guys to lean on the state for that. Next item, I talked about procuring Martingale Commons. That's a 30-acre tract. I know what it's zoned for. It's zoned for expressway interchange, okay? Expressway interchange, that means we're going to have a hotel, gas stations, really upsets the character of the area. We already have that kind of development at the exit on Canner Highway. We have it on State Road 70. We have it at Gatlin. And when Buc-ee's comes, we'll have it at Indrio Road. We don't need to have that kind of development on every exit on I-95. So think about being creative, buying that land, putting a firehouse, and maybe asking the sheriff if he needs a substation out west. Think about that. That gives safety and protection for the community, the residents, as well as the business owners that are coming to the area. Based on something Ms. Hurd said earlier, I just hope that when we have these freestanding urban service districts, we're not doing a build it and they will come, okay? In the 80s and 90s, we did that with strip malls. Build it and they will come. And now we have all kinds of vacant storefronts. So maybe we need a whole bunch more dollar stores and vape stores, but I don't think so. I don't want to go that route. And one point that was brought up earlier, I'd just like to let everybody know that the homes in Stewart West that are being built now are $2 and $3 million homes. So we are people that are committed to the community, and we are taxpayers. So ask you guys to please give some thought to what I brought up. And we do support...
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you.
We do support the Guardian letter that was sent to you.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, back to the board. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, this location is far, far, far from the primary urban service boundary, far, far, far from the secondary. It's leapfrogging over undeveloped ag land. It's completely surrounded by ag land, nothing but ag land. This is so inappropriate. The comprehensive plan in 2.1 has 4 criteria for a future land use amendment. Past changes in land use designations in the general area make the proposed use logical and consistent with these uses, and adequate public facilities are available. Doesn't meet that one. Growth in the area in terms of development of vacant land, redevelopment, and the availability of public services has altered the character of the area such that the proposed request is now reasonable and consistent with area land use characteristics. Doesn't meet that one. The proposed change would correct what would otherwise appear to be an inappropriately assigned land use designation. It does not meet that one. And the last one, the proposed change would fulfill a public service that enhances the health, safety, or general welfare of county residents. It doesn't meet any of the requirements to amend the future land use map. None of them. Therefore, is not eligible for a recommendation of approval. Furthermore, the comprehensive plan defines urban sprawl. I won't read those criteria. There are 13 of them. It meets every one of them. It's a classic definition of urban sprawl. 2.21 of the comprehensive plan is about the proliferation of urban sprawl. Once again, meets all those. The 2.3 land use compatibility, the industrial future land use designation is not compatible with the agricultural parcels to the north, south, east, and west. Then it's not eligible for a comprehensive plan amendment. Time after time, our staff has cited to us the reasons why we should not amend the future land use map. And yet, here we are. In March 5th of 2024, the engineering department said there wasn't sufficient capacity on the roads. What happened to that? And finally, public comment was prolific and uniform in its opposition to this.
Does that mean you're not going to support it?
I'm not going to support it. You will regret if you do too. I have a crystal ball, and I know what the future holds for some.
Commissioner King.
I don't have a crystal ball, but I have a great memory of the last time my colleague had a crystal ball in this exact area. It didn't work out well for the county. Obviously, people will have a difference of opinion. I do rely on our professional staff, and I know that in March there was a different report and that the applicant, it is perfectly acceptable, appropriate for an applicant to receive a report and a response from our staff and then address those concerns, which I think they spent several months doing. I get the concept that it's further away from town, but it's also a exit and entrance to Interstate 95. So it makes it appropriate for the average citizen to think, like, is this an appropriate place for it? I believe that it is. I think that the overall benefits to Martin County at large are there in terms of tax base, job opportunities, ability to create economic development. But I also believe that there are several very strong benefits for the people that are right there. The woman that speaks, the public speaker, about, expanding that roadway, there is much less of an opportunity with our consultant's review of the need for a fire station in that general vicinity. Of course, the Stewart West Cobblestone residents want it, need it, and residents further in that area want it and need it, but this will help facilitate it. And I know that they have not negotiated to say that they would definitely do it, but I feel confident that that will be part of a negotiation that will bring a station there in the next couple of years, much sooner than it could potentially have come on its own organically. I also believe that there would be no interest in the Florida Department of Transportation creating a traffic signal there for up to $1 million. And I know that based on my assistance with residents further east on the same road that have been desperately trying to get that. And Canopy Creek, a beautiful neighborhood, their entrance is directly across the street from a mulch and nursery where landscaping and agricultural trucks pull in and out all day long, so they really want a traffic signal, and FDOT has told them repeatedly no. And this applicant is saying, yeah, I will put that in as a benefit. The concerns, in my opinion, for the residents of Stewart West and Cobblestone, more so than what this applicant is looking to do today, would be the potential of a church on your front doorstep. And that's just my opinion. Everyone has one. And that will work itself out. And then, of course, the highway-oriented property directly across the street on the road is a concern. This particular part of the project, I think, as I said earlier, is appropriate, and I will be supporting it.
You'll be motioning it.
I will motion to accept staff's recommendation. Now, just one, Miss Lovelady. You heard my colleague say that she doesn't believe that any of the criteria have been met. You and your colleagues have reviewed this extensively and have professional experience and years of experience, practical experience in this. Do you feel that the report you put forward is accurate and appropriate?
I will stand by my work.
And so will the whole department, correct? And all the others that reviewed it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
I will also second it.
we have a motion by Commissioner Campy. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Okay, thank you. Public hearing number 10, legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of CPA 24-23, Three Lakes Golf Club, a text amendment. Mr. Doolin.
Good afternoon. My name is Clyde Doolin, for the record, Comprehensive Planning Administrator. This is a proposed text amendment to to Chapter 4 of the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan. It is not site-specific, so it will be applicable anywhere the rural lifestyle future land use designation exists. And I will go to the page. Oh, I wanted to note, the LPA voted 3-1 to approve this on September 12, 1796. It's a very small amount of text that's proposed for change. Why is it not there? And there it is. Golf cottages are currently permitted in the rural lifestyle future land use designation. You're allowed to have a maximum of 54 golf cottages, and the text currently says that you have a maximum of 6 bedrooms per golf cottage for a total of 324 bedrooms. The applicant has proposed to change this text, maintaining the maximum of 54 golf cottages and maintaining the maximum of 324 bedrooms, same as it is currently allowed. The change that they're proposing is to allow each cottage to have between 2 and 12 bedrooms instead of a maximum 6 on each cottage. They're also proposing to put a cap on the golf cottages to be a maximum of 2 stories in height. We have reviewed this, and we found that it has no practical implication in terms of public facilities provision or impacts to surrounding properties. This would be occurring inside a minimum 1,000-acre piece of property, so it's highly unlikely that the design of golf cottages is going to have an impact on any of the surrounding properties. And so staff recommends approval of this proposed text change. This is the second of 3 public hearings. The LPA had the first public hearing. This is a request to transmit this to the state agencies and the Department of Commerce for review. It'll come back to you for an adoption. Staff recommends approval.
Okay. And the applicant. Does anybody have any questions for staff first? Nope. Applicant.
Okay, good afternoon. For the record, Morris Crady, Senior Partner with Lucido and Associates, here on behalf of Three Lakes Golf Club, LLC. And just to give you some understanding, we have been very successful at Three Lakes, or they have been very successful with memberships. And what we're finding out is that there's a need for a variety of golf cottages, from 2 bedrooms up to 12 bedrooms. There is one corporate member that wants to have a corporate retreat at the site. So this does not increase the footprint of the buildings. In fact, it has the potential of decreasing the footprint. You can do 54 cottages with 6 bedrooms. This allows you to do just 27 cottages with up to 12 bedrooms with no more than 2 stories. So there is actually could be, in some cases, a reduction in the footprint. But in our case, again, we're looking to provide the needs or to respond to the needs of the membership, and that equates to multiple bedrooms as long as we don't exceed the maximum allowable under the current policy. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Campy, don't.
I waved and you looked.
I know. I hesitated just.
People can't live in these cottages. They can only be for temporary use, correct?
Correct. They're owned by the golf club. entirely. Yep.
Okay, with that, do we have any public comment? Seeing none, back to the board. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, as I've said, every one of these hearings where the use of rural lifestyle is expanded, it seems limitless to me, and this is proving my presumption that it's limitless, what we will add on to this ridiculous future land use. And this going to 12 bedrooms for a guest cottage that doesn't count is rubber stamping vulgar conspicuous consumption. And I am not going to be supporting this. This is absurd.
Commissioner,
Putting 12-bedroom guest cottages in western Martin County, 5 miles away from the primary urban service boundary, that isn't urban sprawl? Yikes.
without rural lifestyle, we'd be having the same conversation, would we not?
Golf cottages are permitted in the agricultural future land use designation as an accessory to a golf course, which is a permitted use in the zoning code.
And it has the same 6-bedroom maximum and
Has no limitation.
Has no
no
limitation.
limitation. Oh,
No limitation on the number of cottages or bedrooms.
well, that's interesting. Okay, Commissioner Smith.
We did ask for public comment, right?
We did.
I would move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Moving
Thank you.
on now to public hearing number 13, public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 21, Article 8, swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs, general ordinances, Martin County Code regarding safety barriers. And boy, did I get an earful from a couple of folks on this one, but go for it.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Sebastian Bobrowski, County Attorney's Office. As you saw, this is an amendment to our ordinance regarding barriers around swimming pools, hot tubs, and spas. It's to include language specifically capable of those two words. As the current ordinance stands, these bodies of water have to contain at least 24 inches of water. It was written with the presumption that any pool would have more than 24 inches of water, any spa. However, residents have been known to drain these bodies of water to below 24 inches and then remove the barriers around them. As we all know, it doesn't require much water to present a drowning risk, so we are asking to include those two words that would then require the barriers to be up, and thereby presenting a greater safety to our residents.
So I'm going to go first.
Go ahead, you're the chair.
So there's a state law that, so my constituent asked, why are we writing an ordinance that is covered by state law?
We are able to do so, Chairman. We are able to.
Duplication, okay, well, that's fine. And then 2 is there's other means of protecting it that's recognized by the state, as in these industrial strength pool covers that you can have 30 people standing on and all that, that's not recognized as in our proposed ordinance.
It's not enumerated from what I saw in this section of the ordinance, but this section does state approved barriers. If that is an approved barrier according to state, this calls for barriers that are 48 inches tall, but as now, as you mentioned, they do have these covers that cover everything. If that's considered an approved barrier, then that is an approved barrier.
Okay.
That will continue to be.
Okay,
So you can do that as well. It's just that we're talking about the amount of water in the body.
Or
okay, I think I get it.
Old late,
Could you try again?
old late.
Could you explain it from the beginning? You kind of lost us at the 20, so people drain their pool down to have less than 24 inches in it.
And
And then they take their barriers out, so somebody could literally fall in the pool and drown. So that's why you're writing
Florida
this.
would pop your pool out of the ground.
Well,
Yes, but if it's dry enough, then the pool would stay in the ground, and we all know that 16 inches, 18 inches, whatever of water is, 6 inches is enough.
5-gallon bucket of water.
Correct. So, and this was a way to skirt around the ordinance by lowering it below that 24 inches. So our code enforcement officers were having a little bit of an issue as to this little gray area, so this is just kind of to,
clarify it.
yeah.
Commissioner Smith still looks perplexed, so I'm going to turn his light off and let him talk.
Okay, so let's say somebody does that.
Yes, sir.
Skimmer won't work. The jets are probably at about 24 inches. They won't work.
No, the pool's basically is drained, Commissioner. I mean, this is just the rainwater that's collecting under it, or maybe it's not completely drained. I don't think the pumps are running at anything below 24 inches.
So why would someone do it?
To not have to have the barriers around there.
But that's kind of my point. If
Yeah.
you're using the pool functionally, right,
Correct.
you drain it below 24 inches so you can get around having a barrier up, it doesn't work. The pool doesn't work.
Correct. But a child could still fall into.
I understand that part,
Yes, sir.
but are there 100 people doing this? Are there 2? I mean, it seems, this will be one of those things that'll be a headline in Tallahassee, and they'll preempt us on this. I'm just trying to understand.
It happens enough to where our code enforcement officers are having an issue with it and have asked for this.
They must be really busy.
Commissioners, I think it happens more when somebody is abandoning the use of their pool. They're not maintaining their property. This is one of the elements that their neighbors are perhaps complaining about. It's a hazard, yet it is not a hazard if they keep a minimum amount of water on it, probably bleeding mosquitoes and other things, and they're just trying to get the pool to be not a hazard to somebody's kid running into their backyard, falling into an abandoned pool, and having a means to enforce that there's some sort of protection to keep somebody from falling into this whatever depth pool with a minimum amount of water. So that was I believe that's the sole purpose of this, is so that we can at least, sure,
What you just said?
yes.
Okay, if it's abandoned pools, right? Who is going to put up the fence? We are, the county?
Abandoned meaning there may be a property owner that's living there, they just don't care about their pool anymore, and they've taken their yard is accessible to the neighborhood and everybody else, and we're trying to keeping, that's all, sorry.
No, I'm just thinking the logic of how you enforce something like this. I have a pool fence around my pool. I have a 3.5-year-old. I fully get it. The concept, I understand 100%. The person who is doing the code enforcement problem that the neighborhood doesn't like, they're not going to put a fence up. And if we code enforce them, what enforcement do we have to force them to put up a fence?
At that point, it's fines,
Right,
Commissioner.
which we may never collect until 20 years expires, and then we get to this whole thing we talked about a month and a half ago with what should be the value of a code enforcement, 10% of the penalty or the property's value. I get why you're trying to do it, I just don't know how you enforce it. That's the problem.
Maybe Ms. Woods will put some clarity to it.
When you asked, has this happened? I'm here to tell you it has. It hasn't been in the past year, but a few years ago, I know there were at least one, maybe 2 oven battles between 2 neighbors, and the one neighbor didn't want to have his fence up, and so he drained the pool down and kept the fence down, and the other neighbor had grandchildren, just as one of the commissioners described, and there was an issue of safety, but they were able to get around it if they said that they didn't have water in it. So it was, I believe that it bore out of those kind of situations where folks just don't want to put their fences up. And I will tell you that when I was actively dealing with code enforcement, there are folks that if they get a visit from the code enforcement officer, that's enough and they'll put the fence up. Not with someone who completely doesn't want to comply, but,
One piece about it. They're incredibly expensive right now.
I'm sorry?
They're incredibly expensive right now, and you can only get black now. You can't get white anymore. Not that that matters. I'm just sharing with you, having done this recently. I'm sure it'll pass. I'm trying to understand. That's one case, and the logic behind changing a code for one case that I'm just fascinated. That's all.
I wasn't saying it was one case. I was just saying I have been familiar with a case, and maybe, I don't know if Mr. Doherty's in the building.
I'm not voting against anything that's public safety, so you got my vote. But anyway, go ahead, Commissioner Campy.
I was going to say similar. Can you tell us, you mentioned it briefly, this came up based on, you started this whole process based on, like, how did you hear about that this was necessary? From our code enforcement inspector?
Correct, yes, our code enforcement officers.
So they came forward and said, we're having an issue. Can you address it? You did the research,
Yes,
came up with this language.
yes.
And, I do know that 75% of, give or take, most drownings of children happen in someone else's yard. They don't normally drown in their own pools, they drown in a neighbor's pool. And sadly, in Palm City, we've had a couple of cases. A gentleman worked at Publix, his son drowned while his wife was visiting friends in a neighbor's pool. So if this is, look, I'm not in favor of, creating undue bureaucracy and rules, but this is about child safety, that you heard real life experience from our staff that's responsible for doing this, and you're our attorney that crafted this language, and it's about children's safety. I make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
Commissioner Heatherington.
I hate to even ask. So if the pool is drained down completely and utterly no water, then you don't have to have the fence? Or,
Yes, as it's written, if there would be no water, you would still need the fence because it's capable of containing more than 24 inches of water. You would still need the fence if there was no water in it.
Well, you know what it's like to fall
anything
into an
capable of holding more than 24 inches? Like,
It has to be a swimming pool, a spa, or a hot tub, one of those three.
I think it needs work too. It just seems very hard to enforce, and do we have the manpower to enforce it? And they've got so much on their plate.
They-
I haven't heard any.
They're the ones that asked for it, though.
Yeah.
Commissioner Smith.
I'm trying to think if I should even bring up this example. 'cause
No.
We shouldn't then.
Years and years ago, you weren't here. It might have been too long ago. We passed a cat leash law. This is not dissimilar to me. How do you enforce a cat leash law? You don't, other than if your cat's neighbor is climbing into the back of your convertible top, which is what the example was, which is why we changed that rule, and it was peeing in the guy's convertible top, which is
I
why
wasn't
we
here then.
put a cat leash law in place. Good luck enforcing it. Not you, code enforcement.
All right. Did you make a motion? Mm-hmm. Did somebody second it? Mm-hmm. Oh, look at there. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 3-2, Heatherington and Smith dissenting.
You didn't think you were getting a split vote on that?
Wow.
Not this morning, Commissioner. Thank you.
24%. 24 inches.
Okay. Next up, Department Quasi Judicial Number 1. Is that where we're going here? Request for approval for the third amendment to the Reserve at Park Trace Plan Unit Development Zoning Agreement, including a revised master final site plan and amended preserve area management plan. Mr. Brian Elam.
Good afternoon. Quasi.
Oh, Commissioner Smith, do you have any quasi judicial.
If I do, they're filed.
If any, they've been filed.
I don't know if I have any, but if I do, they've been filed.
I don't have any, and I filed that.
I don't know if I have any, but if I do, they've been filed.
Okay, everybody want to stand and be,
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
any interveners? No interveners. Has all the proper paperwork been turned in?
A copy of my work history and the agenda item to turn in as Exhibit 1.
Perfect. I think we're good. All right. Carry on.
All right, thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. This is a request by Lucido and Associates on behalf of D.R. Horton Incorporated for approval of the Third Amendment to the Preserve at Park Trace PUD zoning agreement, including a revised master final site plan. This proposed amendment is for an internal road connection extension to connect to and serve as the main access to the adjacent Phase 2 of the Cove Royale PUD and an amended PAMP. Included is a request for a certificate of public facilities exemption.
Thank you, Ben Pano.
The subject site is located at 2320 Southeast Cove Road, generally at the southwest intersection of Southeast Cove Road and Southeast Willoughby Boulevard in Stewart. The primary access for the site is located on the south side of Southeast Cove Road at the Willoughby Boulevard intersection via the street named Southeast Park Trace Drive. The Preserve at Park Trace PUD was approved September 28, 2021 for 114 single-family homes and associated infrastructure on approximately 97 acres with a gross density of 1.2 units per acre. By way of the Second Amendment, approved November 21st, 2023, the total units was reduced by 2 from 114 to 112 to accommodate the addition of common recreational amenities and the extension of a private road or stub-out to provide legal access and utilities to Phase 2 of the Cove Royale planned unit development. The Traffic Division of Public Works Department determined this application satisfies the adequate public facility standard. It is exempt as it is a development alteration, or an expansion that does not create additional impact on the roadway network. Subject property has the estate density 2 units per acre future land use designation and a planned unit development zoning agreement. This amendment proposes a revision to the master final site plan and preserve area management plan to allow construction of a connector road named Southeast Royal Preserve Way to the Phase 2 area of the adjacent Cove Royale PUD. The white dashed line is the boundary line between the two different PUDs. You can see that there's a Phase 1 Cove Royale PUD, which has been approved and under construction, and this area right here is where the connection is to be made. The applicant made a request to amend the approved PAMP for minor alterations of wetland and wetland buffer preserve areas for the purpose of constructing an access road through this project that will connect to Phase 2 of the Cove Royale project. As part of this proposal, an environmental waiver application was approved by the Growth Management Director, allowing .04 acres or 1,800 square feet of wetland impacts and .03 acres of secondary wetland impacts for the construction of the road. This additional wetland impact for access to Phase 2 of Cove Royale has been demonstrated by the applicant to be minimal and will be offset by the original mitigation area that includes the creation of 1.94 acres of marsh wetlands by converting highly degraded Melaleuca uplands near the entrance of the community. This wetland creation was permitted with the approval of the original PUD and provided a surplus of mitigation at the time for the main access road to the project. So here's a slide showing where the wetland creation is occurring, which is up near the main entrance for the Preserve at Park Trace.
Absolutely.
And this is a close-up of the connector road for the Preserve at Park Trace. It's just this section right here. It goes through the wetland preserve and wetland Buffer Preserve. The stub out was already approved in the Second Amendment. I also wanted to mention, though, that in the construction on the Preserve at Park Trace, for the right-of-way through that area, they're going to use retaining walls. The use of the retaining walls limits the right-of-way width to 50 feet maximum and reduces the impacts through the wetland and preserve areas significantly from conventional roadways with sloped shoulders. Review of this application by the local planning agency is not required, and development staff have reviewed and found the D.R. Horton Incorporated application to comply with all applicable regulations and the comprehensive growth management plan as detailed in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of this application. We move that the board receive and file the agenda item and all its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move the board approve the Third Amendment to the Preserve at Park Trace PUD zoning agreement, including the revised master final site plan and amended PAMP. That concludes the presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none. Mr. Grady?
Good afternoon. Again, for the record, Morris Crady, senior partner with Lucido and Associates. And this is one of those rare cases where I've had two clients and two separate builders work together to improve the environment by eliminating the road in Cove Royale Phase 2 that was going to bisect in a large wetland area. So by working together and D.R. Horton providing access through the Preserve at Park Trace, we limit that impact to 1,800 square feet versus what would have been a couple of acres. And that couple of acres that would have been impacted is now going to be restored to wetlands on the Cove Royale project. So Cove Royale is paying for all that work and amending their PAMP to accomplish that. And you'll see that in the next agenda item is Cove Royale. But the Preserve at Park Trace is cooperating, providing them Phase 2 access through their project and also allowing them to access the common facilities, recreational facilities at the Preserve at Park Trace. So they'll be kind of divested from Cove Royale PUD because of the access improvement. With that understanding, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, do we have any public comment? Seeing none, back to the board. Commissioner Smith.
Move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Department Quasi-Judicial Number 2, request approval of the Third Amendment to Cove Royale Planned Unit Development Zoning Agreement, C165-007, including a revised master and phasing plan, Phase 2 final site plan, and amended preserve area management plan. Mr. Elam. Oh, we need to stand and be sworn in again.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Smith?
I do, they're filed.
If any of them have been filed.
Any of them been filed?
I don't have any, they've been filed.
If any, they've been filed.
Okay, any interveners?
No interveners.
All the appropriate paperwork in the right place?
Copy of the agenda item and my work history been turned in.
And we're there. Take it away.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. This is a request by Lucido and Associates on behalf of KH Cove Royale LLC for a Third Amendment to the Cove Royale Planned Unit Development Zoning Agreement, including a revised master phasing plan and revised Phase 2 final site plan. The proposed amendment will remove the previously proposed paved road on an existing man-made berm which connected Phase 1 to Phase 2. Alternative access is proposed to Phase 2 through the private roads within the adjacent Preserve at Park Trace PUD. Included is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. The subject site is located on the south side of Southeast Cove Road, east of Southeast Grace Lane, approximately .14 miles west of Southeast Alt Avenue in Stewart. The Cove Royale PUD was approved on March 26, 2019, and is a two-phase project originally approved for 118 single-family homes on approximately 97 acres with a gross density of 1.22 units per acre. Phase 1, consisting of 83 single-family homes and associated infrastructure, was platted on June 18th and completed post-approval on September 16th. It's 2024. Construction of Phase 1 is ongoing. Phase 2 is approved for 37 single-family homes. This proposal will remove 3 single-family lots from Phase 2 to accommodate the construction of the proposed access from the Preserve at Park Trace PUD and reduce Phase 2 lots from 37 to 34. And as previously stated in the last agenda item, the Traffic Division of Public Works Department determined this application satisfies the adequate public facility standards. It is exempt as it is a development alteration or expansion that does not create additional impact on the roadway network. Subject property has a state density, 2 units per acre future land use designation, and PUD zoning. The applicant is requesting removal of the approved access from the west between Phase 1 and Phase 2 over an existing man-made berm and the construction of an alternative vehicular and pedestrian access from the east that will connect Phase 2 of the Cove Royale PUD through the private roads within the adjacent Preserve at Park Trace PUD. The request for the alternative access requires an amendment to the Preserve Area Management Plan for minor alterations of wetland and wetland buffer preserve areas. As part of this proposal, an environmental waiver application was also reviewed and approved by the Growth Management Director, allowing .02 acres of direct wetland impacts and .02 acres of secondary wetland impacts for the construction of the road. The purple dashed line here shows the property boundaries between the two PUDs. Also visible here, you can see where the existing berm is that will be removed. It's across the entire Phase 2 area of Cove Royale. The following table compares the proposed impacts and mitigation using the Wetland Rapid Assessment Procedure, or RAP with a W, which is a rating index developed by the South Florida Management Water District to assist the regulatory evaluation of mitigation sites. The removal of the man-made berm that has bisected the marsh wetland and the creation of the wetlands in the areas the berm is removed, as well as the proposed construction of the alternative access using retaining walls to limit the right-of-way to 50 feet maximum, have more than adequately satisfied the mitigation requirements necessary for the approval of the waiver. Reconnecting the two wetlands will improve the wetland hydrology by making this marsh slough that continues south into the state park whole again. The amended PAMP adds the mitigation areas into the preserve areas for this subdivision. South of both of these properties is, I think it's the Atlantic Ridge State Park. Review of this application by the local planning agency is not required. And development review staff have found that KH Cove Royale LLC application to comply with all applicable regulations and the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan as detailed in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of this application. Move the board receive and file the agenda item and all of its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1. Move that the board approve the third amendment to the Cove Royale PUD zoning agreement, including a revised master and phasing plan and amended PAMP, and move the board approve a resolution to approve the Cove Royale PUD Phase 2 final site plan. That concludes that presentation. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none. Applicant.
Again, for the record, Morris Crady, senior partner with Lucido & Associates. I want to thank Brian for a very detailed and well-done report that shows the improvements that we're making, and this is Coulter Homes part of the agreement, and together, it creates a tremendous environmental benefit. And with that, we'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none. Commissioner Smith. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Thank you. Department Quasi Judicial Number 3, plat request approval for Loggerhead Estates project, Loggerhead Estates L086-002. Mr. Elam, you're up again, and so we need to stand and be sworn in.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do we have any, what you call it?
Ex parte.
Ex parte.
If I do, but if I do, they're filed.
I don't believe I do either, and if any, they've been filed.
I don't think so either, but if I do, they've been filed.
I don't have any.
I don't have any, and they've been filed.
Okay, with that, would you please turn in the proper paperwork to the proper person?
Thank you, Chairman.
And with
Turned
that,
in the
take it away.
Copy of my work history and the agenda item has been turned in as Exhibit 1. This is a request by Creech Consulting Incorporated on behalf of the Medalist Building Group LLC for approval of the Loggerhead Estates plat. The plat is consistent with the Loggerhead Estates revised final site plan for a 23-lot residential development and an existing church. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities exemption. The Loggerhead Estates final site plan was approved on July 14th, 2023. As a result of the review of the plat application, minor technical adjustments were required to the previously approved final site plan for the Loggerhead Estates project to ensure consistency with the plat in accordance with Article 10 of the Martin County Land Development Regulations. I just want to call attention to one minor technical change, which is that the project name was formerly known as Loggerhead Estates 2, and it is now known as Loggerhead Estates. Project location. Project site is located at 1360 Southwest 34th Terrace, generally on the south side of Southwest 34th Street, approximately .13 miles west of Southwest Map Road in Palm City. Here's the 4-page plat. Review of this application is not required by the local planning agency, and development review staff have found the application to comply with all applicable regulations of the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan as detailed in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of the plat, and we move the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move the board approve the Loggerhead Estates plat and the contract for construction of required improvements in infrastructure. And that completes the presentation.
Any questions for staff? Mr. Creech?
For the record, I am not Morris Crady and a senior partner of Lucido and Associates. So, good afternoon, Rick Creech, Creech Consulting. Essentially, just here as a formality to record the plat or get the plat approved by the commission. We support staff's approval. I know it's been a long meeting, so for the sake of brevity, I'll avoid any further discussion. So, thank you very much for your kind attention.
Half a day compared to the city of Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Commissioner Smith?
Pending no, did we ask public?
No, not yet.
Oh,
Public.
did we have public? We don't have, did I ask public? Oh, is there any public comment? Sorry. Seeing none, Commissioner Smith?
Approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay, Department Number 1, 9 items, Office and Management and Budget that require board approval. Thank you. Stephanie Murley. This is an old one.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Stephanie Murley here to give you this week's OMB item. So the first item is a permission to apply for the FY 24-25 Florida Department of Environmental Protection Legislative Appropriation Grant for Martin County's Bessie Creek retrofit project. This is a requested grant award of $500,000 for the replacement of 4 roadway drainage crossings. The proposed Bessie Creek Culvert Capacity Project will increase capacity, reduce erosion, and reduce flooding in the Bessie Creek watershed, and there is no cash match required on this. The next item is a permission to apply for the Florida Department of State Division of Library and Information Services annual state aid grant for libraries. The Library Department is requesting to apply for $76,270 for managing and coordinating free library services to Martin County residents, and there is no cash match required on that. Item number 3 is a permission to accept the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, Assistance to Firefighters Grant for Fire Prevention and Safety. Our Fire Rescue Fire Prevention Division is requesting to accept $30,961.90 to launch a new project called SAFE, which is Smoke Alarms for Everyone. There is a cash match required of $1,548 that is provided from the Fire Prevention's operational budget. Item number 4 is a permission to accept the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant for staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, or the SAFER grant. This is a grant award of $5,897,538 over a 3-year period to hire 18 additional firefighter paramedic positions to support fire rescue operations and maintain the high level of service requirements outlined in our growth management plan. There is no grant match requirement. We will have to initially provide $100,000 in the first year for personal protective equipment, which is available in the capital improvement plan. And the fire rescue chief is here to do a little presentation on that.
A little. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chad Chanchuli, Fire Chief, Martin County Fire Rescue. If you recall, earlier this year, we came to the board to request permission to apply for the FEMA SAFER grant. SAFER stands for Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. The grant is designed for departments to get to the national standard for proper staffing and response to emergency scenes. And FEMA covers this cost at 100% for a 3-year term. So we're excited to announce that we have been awarded the FEMA SAFER grant for 18 additional firefighters, and that's a total savings to the taxpayers of $5.89 million, and we are here today to request permission to accept. What I'd like to do, though, is talk about a little bit of the history of the staffing shortage, of what brought us here today to even talk about the FEMA SAFER grant. If you recall, back in 2022, we came before the board and we gave reports about the increase of demand for the 911 services from the community. It was such an increase of demand that we had to put additional trucks on the road to meet the demand to maintain the same level of service that we have today. Unfortunately, we did not have the personnel to staff those trucks, so they were subsidized with 100% overtime. So the problem that we had at that time was the fact that we had unsustainable overtime, and we were trending roughly $3.8 million, and we were doing something called mandatory overtime as well, meaning if I had an employee that works a typical 24-hour shift, and if I could not bring them any kind of relief the next day, I would have to force them to stay an additional 24 hours, which means they worked a consecutive 48 hours without going home. So that was something that we couldn't sustain for any longer, so we came to the board and we requested permission to apply in 2022 for the FEMA SAFER grant of 40 additional firefighters. Unfortunately, later that year, we came to the board and we were not awarded that grant. However, we still had an unsustainable overtime rate and we still had a stressed labor force because of mandated overtime. So we made a request for an immediate hire of 20 additional firefighters. You were able to grant us that request. We were able to get them on the street, and we had a significant reduction with the stress on the labor force, and we had a significant reduction in the overtime as well. So this next slide, I want to slow it down just a little bit. FY23, overtime was $3.8 million. FY24, after we brought the 20 on board, trained them, and got them to the street, We've reduced our overtime to $748,000. That was a savings of $3.1 million in 1 year of overtime. But the question is this: you've reduced your overtime, but you hired 20 people over here. There's a cost to that, so let's talk about it. The 20 full-time employees that we brought on cost $1.9 million. So let's break it down. I'm going to start with FY23, overtime was 3.8. In FY24, the 20 employees cost, plus the overtime that happened that year, came out to 2.6. My total reduction in savings is $1.17 million in 1 year to the taxpayers. So it's an important slide I just wanted to mention because that was very impactful of the fiscal responsibility that the decisions that have been made with this board and our organization. So next, what I want to talk about is what's the benefits of SAFER? What's it do for the organization? And what's it do for the community? So first, what I want to talk about is the increase of firefighters on scene with less apparatus. What does that mean? If I take a standard house fire, structure fire, and if you're in the neighborhood and unfortunately your neighbor's going through that, you would look down the street and you would see fire apparatus lined up all the way down the street. And the question is, why so many fire trucks to put out one house fire? And the response has always been the same. It's not that I need all the fire trucks. I need the people on the fire trucks to put out the house fire. National standard, I have to assemble 17 firefighters on scene of a typical residential structure fire within 8 minutes of time. And that's a standard that we're maintaining here. But that's why it takes so many trucks. However, if we're able to accept this SAFER grant, I'm able to accomplish the same goals and objectives with the same amount of personnel with less apparatus, meaning less emergency vehicles driving on the road, less congestion in these communities. But let me move on to the next, the single unit response for our less serious calls. If we talk about 911, about 85 to 88% of what we have coming in through 911 is medical. If I staff our rescues, which some refer to as an ambulance, if I staff them properly, these lower level medical calls, I can handle with one single unit response over 90% of the time. So what's that mean to the community? Well, it means I can take these engines and these ladder trucks, I can keep them available in zone so they are designed to respond to calls that they were built for, such as motor vehicle collisions, structure fires, train collisions, and then hazardous material calls. That's what these trucks are designed to do, not chase medical calls every day, all day. And then lastly, I'm able to reduce the mandatory overtime because we have the adequate staffing. So in the next slide, I want to talk about pursuing funding opportunities. This is something that we're very proud of. If I just take you back 16 years, just 16 years, and if I talk about the funding opportunities that we've been aggressively pursuing, in 16 years of time, we have been able to achieve $17 million in grant funding. That $17 million we took off the backs of the taxpayers. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. This is because of Matt Rush. This is because of his intestinal fortitude and his attention to detail. The application processes with these grants are so meticulous. If you have one error, you're completely washed out of the system. But Matt, because he is so meticulous with his approach, he has accomplished to receive $17 million over 16 years. So that's a huge accomplishment for Matt.
Thank you.
Stand up.
Matt loves it when I talk about it. Yeah.
Now,
All right, so in closing,
Hold on a minute.
his wife and kids love that meticulous attitude.
You know, it's so weird, like what you just said about that whole thing. He builds his stone walls exactly the same. Like, so there's a theme here of his.
There's some math
meticulous.
involved with that.
He's meticulous. But so in closing, I just want to cap with why we're here. We're here today requesting permission to accept the FEMA SAFER grant for 18 firefighters at a total value of $5.89 million of a savings to the community. And it's funded by FEMA for 3 years at 100%. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them.
Any questions?
Good work.
Commissioner Smith?
Do you want us, Stephanie, are you going to do these all together, or do you want to?
This one separate.
You can do this. We could do it all however you like.
Oh, wait. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That seems rather anticlimactic.
It was already.
He was looking for, he was looking for an emotion. Yeah,
then,
yeah.
but That's why I said, Stephanie, do you,
could have.
don't go away.
Mr. Donaldson, is that your?
It is. I had one additional item that I'd asked to be included. If you're going to take them all, you're not done?
Let's separate.
Yes, sorry, yes, so the,
Wait.
yes.
Separate 4 and the rest of them.
Would you like to vote on the last one?
The last one.
The safer grant?
Yeah, I'd like to separate that.
Okay. That's what we thought.
So,
Make a motion.
Just, I've got a couple more.
Yeah, but
so-
we're going to take this one now.
Sure.
okay, this was item 4, correct?
5.
5.
5?
4.
4.
4, okay.
I would move approval of the request to accept the SAFER grant of item 4.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Now you can
Thank
go
you.
ahead. We'll bundle the rest.
All
Is
right.
that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Item number 5 is a permission to accept the contract between Senior Resource Association and the Martin County Board of County Commissioners to provide the 10% local match to the Transportation Disadvantaged Trip and Equipment Grant. This is an annual grant that we have with the Senior Resource Association. It's to supply the local match funds of 10% in the amount of $89,474 total, which is budgeted in the MPO operating budget. Item number 6 is another permission to accept the contract between Senior Resource Association and to provide the 10% local match for their other grant, the Transportation Disadvantaged Innovative Service, or ISD Development Grant. This is for the amount of $38,637 to supply the local match for that, and this is also budgeted within the MPO's operating budget. Item number 7 is a budget resolution to accept funds received from the Florida Department of Emergency Management, or FDEM, for Hurricanes Ian and Hurricane Nicole beach erosion. Back in 2023, we were notified that we would be eligible to receive some FEMA funding from FEMA through FDEM for hurricane-related beach erosion expenses because of Hurricanes Ian and Nicole. And throughout this fiscal year, the county has received these funds in the amount of $855,172 for Ian and almost $2,197,000 for Nicole. No cash match is required because it is covered by the state's legislator SB4 waiver agreement. The next item is a budget resolution to allocate the private contribution from the Sailfish Point POA for the Bathtub Beach Sailfish Point Maintenance Project. The POA has provided the county $192,655 for their portion of the 2024 Bathtub Beach Maintenance Project and 2025 Bathtub Beach Project Monitoring. And the last item on my agenda is just mosquito controls requesting the execution of their annual certified budget for arthropod control. Every year, there's an annual submission of mosquito control's budget to the state Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and they require receipt of this certified budget, and we are just requesting that the board authorize the chair to execute this budget to the state. And then Mr. Donaldson has another item.
I don't know that it's good news. It is good news, actually, but it's not, it doesn't come for free, unfortunately. And that is the Martin County Sheriff's Office has entered into a settlement agreement on a previous inmate medical provider, Armor, to settle a matter regarding the catastrophic inmate medical bills. Staff is, and so there's been an ongoing lawsuit between the Armor, which we had discharged, or the sheriff had. Ms. Woods and I had assisted the sheriff's department when they were going through that. It is, I believe, clearly in the public's interest to settle this case. It was in the order of millions of dollars of where this started. And there is the settlement of $200,000, and staff is requesting a budget transfer from healthcare medical fund reserves, which is for indigent care, which is also used for inmate medical. So we have that in that fund there. So that would be for this, so it would not impact your other budgetary items or your general fund reserve. So we're recommending that you approve the transfer of $200,000 from healthcare medical fund reserves to remit to the sheriff's office for the settlement costs.
Commissioner Smith, include that in your motion.
I will, if, so Stephanie, that would be item
10.
10? So I would move that we add item 10 to Stephanie's Department 1, right? Agenda item, and that is to move 200,000, correct, Dawn?
Yes.
From the, which account?
Healthcare medical fund reserves.
Thank you. And approval of the remainder of that agenda item, less item 4, which we already voted on.
Perfect.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So we have reached the end of our agenda except for our 505 preset, which is...
Oh, no. Those
scared me. Except for public hearing number 14, which is our fiscal year budget hearing, which is at 5:05. So you have an option, Ms. Calabrese. Would you like to wait till 5:05, or would you like to do 5:05 public comment now? All right, come on. Frequent flyer today.
Donna Calabrese for the record, and because I ran out of time, I'm not sure that all my comments were captured, so I'm going to say what I was finishing up with on the last time. In the package we got today, I got a copy of the letter from the Guardians of Martin County addressed to Mr. Schilling. And it talks about there was an agreement to complete a study of the western lands. I don't know what that means, so I'm really not commenting, but asking, what did that mean? What were we expecting to get? Why did it not happen? So that I understand what this organization wants to do, see if I want to give them my support. So I'm not sure what the county agreed to do as far as completing a study of the western lands, if you could help me.
I'd like some clarification on that myself, so continue, your 3 minutes aren't up, so,
I'm done.
oh, that's it?
Yeah. So I guess I have to go to Mr. Braun to find out?
No. We're going to find out right now.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
We've been talking about this, and where are we at with our western land study?
Well, in our conversation with you all, we did, the growth management worked on just reviewing our existing studies as opposed to embarking on a brand-new public relations.
Where are we with all that?
So staff will bring back to you a status, but we've had some presentations on different reports on where we're at, but I'll have Mr. Schilling come and give you an update on that. I don't have the...
So we'll have an agenda item on that in the future.
Yes.
What we're talking about. So I have all of your information, and I will make sure that somebody makes you aware of that when that actually happens. Hopefully it happens before I exit stage left. So,
I think Virginia. Is her name Virginia? She's waving her card up there.
oh, oh,
Is her name Virginia?
I forgot.
Laverne.
Laverne.
She could do public comment. huh?
Didn't our Transportation Disadvantaged Department win a statewide award?
Yes, they did.
Aren't you going to make any motion? That's what I thought you were going to say. No?
No.
Deal. It's one in the whole state. Out of 40 different groups. Very hurtful.
While she's making her way up to the front, I did get word, and I forgot in this morning's commissioner comments. Keep coming. Our train station, AT&T is finally off strike. Our train station is actually.
Sound.
Hope Sound, no, yes, oh, that's right. The Hope Sound train station is scheduled to be moved Sunday, October 6th. They will commence operations out west of Hope Sound at 4 a.m. They should be into the US 1 area by 5-ish. So they promised me it's going to happen. But there is a lot of moving parts with this. It's been postponed a number of different times. But anyway, hopefully that's going to happen. So with that said, ma'am, could you state your name, and did you turn in a thing?
She did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. My name is Laverne Williams, and I'm sorry for being late. But the question is, was this the last meeting to talk about the disadvantage, whether or not the county would be granting funding for that, or where would I go to find that information now?
We're going to let Mr. Donaldson answer that question.
Yes, so the board at the, during our budget public hearing, approved an increase in the transportation disadvantaged. That there was a request for, I think it was approximately $400,000. The board granted a grant of half of that with a request to revisit it in February in fund balance to see if the remaining portion could be done. So there is partial funding of the program, and we are working with our provider on how we can provide their funding from now to February, and then when we have a meeting in February to talk with the board, we could possibly fund the same amount for the rest of the year.
Okay, and then, so can I ask one more question that goes with that? Does the company that handles the transportation now, they're preparing to prepare for next year's budget to see if the state will provide us the grant of the $400,000? Or that has to wait, or I'm a little...
So we can talk about that after, so not waste the commissioner's time, but the short answer is that, yes, there is a goal to continue to restore the funding back to where it was in the past to continue the service at the same level.
Thank you.
But that grant expired, the amount expired.
Yes.
We consumed the third year of that funding, which is why we had to add additional funding for half of the year to get us to where we are today.
Right.
So so we're getting into, the goal is to get the state to restore the funding, but there may be a grant cycle or two that we need to go through as the competition in that area was strong, and advocating more funding from the state is part of our goal.
With that said, what do we do?
We have one other item that we asked you, I'm sorry, since at the end of the day, you had asked for what happened with the city of Stewart regarding
yes.
Brightline. Mr. Stokas is here to at least tell you where the state is at, and then perhaps we can adjourn until 5:05 for the scheduled final tax hearing.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. George Stokas, Assistant County Administrator with Martin County. To briefly paraphrase what my recollection of what happened with Brightline with the City of Stewart last night was the City of Stewart did give direction to City Manager Mortel to work at renegotiating a new deal with the county and Brightline. There was concerns from some of their commissioners as to relates to the number of times Brightline will stop at the station. There were some numbers thrown out, such as $15 million. There was no comment as to whether that number was too high or was it too low. There was comments from the city commission. At least one said that they felt they did not want to cap the number of dollars committed, but asked Manager Mortel to get back with the county staff. I have reached out to Mr. Mortel, waiting to hear back from him. I know that meeting went until about midnight last night, as well as I have had conversations with Brightline. But I also have not had a chance to meet with all of you individually to discuss what your direction from the previous meeting. But I do have plans to meet with Brightline based on what the city of Stewart has done in conversations with the city of Stewart has done at the beginning of, probably at this point, at the beginning of October. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or comments regarding this, but that's basically where we are at.
That's good. It's progress.
Commissioner Smith.
So what I've heard from individuals that are involved in this is that time is running out relative to us or whoever doing the negotiating this. And so I guess we keep waiting to hear some clarity from the city as to what would the city accept or not accept, or what is the deal, what deal. And at some point, and I had said this at the last meeting, I think, are going to have to make a decision for Martin County, not waiting for something to happen, because from everybody I have heard from, I don't hear that anybody's getting any clarity as to really what's being asked for, and I don't know how that fits with what our original agreement was, and so on. So anyway, my sense time is getting thinner.
Mr. Donaldson.
So what my suggestion is that what staff will continue to do is that your staff will work with the city manager and his staff to negotiate with Brightline and continue to discuss with you individually and then collectively at board meetings to try to come together with agreement. It's certainly our goal and I think requirement is the city of Stewart was our partner in this proposal, and we're looking for them to continue to be a necessary partner to secure our agreement. So I think we will meet with, continue to work with the city manager and collectively try to negotiate a proposal with Brightline, and hopefully we'll be able to bring something back to you that a majority of both boards would approve.
Commissioner Smith.
And somehow, Don, are you going to glean from us how long it will go on? Because I do not hear anything necessarily saying that we're close to an agreement, we've reached an agreement, we have an agreement. And if we're predicating the future of the station on an agreement between the city and us, and Brightline is messaging everybody that they're running out on time, I think we county still have an opportunity to facilitate the agreement that we originally had in our settlement agreement, as I understand it, Ms. Woods, right? I mean, that's...
I just wanted to make it clear, lots of people say lots of things these days. We still have the 2018 settlement agreement, and Brightline still has an obligation to build a station somewhere on the Treasure Coast. Almost a year has gone by, so they've got 4 years. So to the extent that's the time that's running out, but Brightline doesn't, I mean, other than a self-imposed deadline, there's 4 years, they've got 4 years times ticking for them to comply with the settlement agreement. So from a timing standpoint.
At some point, someone has to say yes or no, we're going...
Correct. Correct, but it's on Brightline. I mean, we're going to go to them, obviously, as Don said, to try to come to a resolution, but that doesn't relieve Brightline of their obligation. We'll do our best.
Okay.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'm still confident that we can negotiate an agreement with the city and with Brightline, because I think that needs to be a three-legged stool. But also, I'm mindful that there are two new commissioners who have never held public office before and who are rightly concerned about voting to represent the city of Stewart's residents. And I'm willing to give them a little time to get their, a sense of you know, how local government works. We all were in this position at one time, and it's not an enviable position to be in. The first vote that you make as soon as you're elected is to spend 30 million bucks or not. So I'm willing to give them some cushion, so that they can feel confident and comfortable that they're making the right decision.
My first meeting was to settle the Bright Line lawsuit, so yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, okay, so I think we're going to pause our meeting till 5:05.